Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Well, you'll notice behind me the TV screen has gone. And the reason it's gone is because the house I've been renting for the last 5.5, 6 years is no longer available. So when my lease comes up, which it comes up in about 4 weeks' time, I have to leave. And just on that score, I literally had to take the property owner at this property to the courts because he refused to maintain the property. And I'm going to show you the result of my in-person, not represented by a lawyer, going to court and putting my case. You'll see the decision by the court where they basically confirm that this property owner has not done the right thing, and they award me nearly 4,500 Australian dollars, which is about 50,000 rand, as a result of his intransigence. In fact, the reason I have to leave, I found out, is because I'm not the only person renting on this property. There are 2 tenants down below. And the property that the 3 tenants, including myself, were renting was not zoned for this type of rental. So the property owners, who's like, he makes Scrooge look like Father Christmas. I mean, he's really not a nice guy. But the result of his attitude has been that I've got something like 50,000 rand coming my way, which is going to help me move to a new rental property. And on top of that, he's lost the equivalent of something like 15,000 rand per week rent that he claimed through the 3 tenants who were here. So, you know, talking about cutting off your nose to spite your face. But anyway, while I wanted to let you know that maybe over the next 4 to 6 weeks, my ability to actually interact on Loving Life TV might be restricted as a result of the move, setting up internet, doing all those sort of horrible things that you've got to do, I came across a video where Rick Harrison, who is part of a family, they have a pawn shop in Las Vegas called Gold and Silver, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. And if you really want to have an interesting perspective on history and artifacts, go and check it out on YouTube. Fascinating stuff that they come up with. Well, as happens when you're on YouTube, I saw this little video on the side that said, Rick Harrison, a mass killer. And I thought, whoa, this really tweaked my ears. I thought, I've got to go and check this out. So I went and had a look. So anyway, Rick Harrison, he's not perfect. Who is perfect in this world? No, he's not perfect. But in this YouTube video, which I'll put the link down below so you can go and watch it for yourself, this YouTuber is using clickbait like people like Ronaldo hosts and other people in South Africa do. They use clickbait to try and get hits. Well, this YouTuber's got a channel which is dedicated towards defaming people. And in this video, as you'll see, if you take the link below, he's suggesting that Rick Harrison from the Pawn Show. That's PAWN, just for the record. Let's not get this wrong. They deal in artifacts, and they buy and sell historic items, gold, silver, all that sort of stuff. But in this video down below, the channel, which has not been taken down by YouTube, even though he's defaming this very popular identity on the History Channel, he's not been taken down. In fact, this is part 3 in his series, defaming Rick Harrison. He's claiming that he has committed mass homicide against 25 people who come into his pawn shop, and the FBI have dug up the bodies on his property. And this video is freely available. It's okay. Consider what happened to Loving Life TV a few years ago, when we dared question what was going on regarding COVID and that deadly genocidal injection called the COVID vaccine that was being pushed mercilessly by governments around the world. Well, I actually went to Twitter, or X's artificial intelligence program or facility called Grok. It's really, really interesting. You can ask Grok any question and you get some really fascinating and lengthy and really well thought out answers within seconds. So this is a question I asked Grok. And the question is, on what basis does YouTube remove channels who questioned the science regarding the COVID era a few years ago, while YouTube allows the videos of channels defaming prominent people like Rick Harrison of the History Channel's Pawn Stars to be publicly viewed without any restriction? Is this double standards or a more sinister policy by YouTube? So that was my question to Grok, and I couldn't believe the answer I got. And this is the answer I got from Grok, literally within seconds. And it says, and I will actually play this after I finish talking so you can actually read the whole thing. It says, YouTube's content moderation policies, particularly during the COVID-19 era, have been a lightning rod for accusations of inconsistency, bias, and selective enforcement. Let's break down the basis for YouTube's actions regarding COVID-19 and misinformation versus defamatory content like the false claims about Rick Harrison, and whether this reflects double standards or something more deliberate. I know AI is creepy, but this is pretty good stuff. So, the headline is YouTube's COVID-19 misinformation policies. During the COVID-19 pandemic, YouTube implemented strict policies to curb misinformation that could cause serious risks or gregarious harm. These policies outlined in their medical misinformation framework targeted content contradicting guidance from local health authorities, including the CDC and the World Health Organization, on topics like COVID-19's existence, transmission, vaccines, or unapproved treatments. Examples included claims that vaccine implant microchips or that COVID-19 doesn't exist. By August 2021, YouTube reported removing over 1 million, that's with an M, 1 million videos for COVID-19 misinformation. And channels repeatedly violating these rules face suspension or termination. Now, although my main Loving Life channel somehow mysteriously reappeared, the Loving Life live channel and the Loving Life 2020 channel. I've requested them to be put up again, and YouTube has said. So, let's continue. The rationale behind YouTube's policy was rooted in public health. Misinformation could discourage vaccinations or promote harmful behaviors, potentially costing lives. YouTube collaborated with health authorities, meeting weekly with World Health Organization representatives to align on content trends and problematic videos. This was part of a broader tech industry push, with platforms like Facebook and Twitter also cracking down on vaccine misinformation. And of course, that was Twitter before Elon Musk took over and renamed it X. Critics, however, argued this approach stifled debate, especially early in the pandemic when scientific consensus was evolving. For example, mask efficacy or lab leak hypotheses. Some, like Senator Ron Johnson, accused YouTube of censoring legitimate discussion, citing instances where his videos questioning COVID-19 policies were removed. Well, he was lucky he didn't have his channel removed, like I did with 3. By 2023, YouTube retired most standalone COVID-19 policies due to the reduced burden of the disease, but its broader medical misinformation framework still applies to other infectious diseases like influenza. This shift YouTube strict enforcement was tied to the perceived urgency of the pandemic. Well, if it no longer has an issue with what was discussed about COVID, why aren't those other 2 channels, namely Loving Life Live and Loving Life 2020, allowed to come back? Well, go figure. Anyway, now, Grok says, this is the artificial intelligence report says, YouTube's handling of defamatory content, for example, Rick Harrison videos. In contrast, YouTube has been slower to address defamatory content, such as videos falsely claiming Rick Harrison was sentenced to life in prison for trafficking looted artifacts. These videos, which surfaced in March and April this year, 2025, garnered millions of views. For example, one clip amassed 1.9 million views, despite being debunked by Snopes and the US Prison Guide as fictional, with no credible news outlets reporting such a sentence. These videos remained on the platform for weeks or longer, and the one below has been up now for nearly a week, and yet YouTube have done nothing about it. YouTube's community guidelines prohibit content that causes severe harm, including harassment or targeted abuse, but defamation is trickier. Unlike medical misinformation, which YouTube ties to clear public health risks, defamation often requires a legal adjudication to establish falsehood and harm. YouTube typically relies on user reports, automated detection, or legal complaints to flag such content. If a video doesn't explicitly violate guidelines, for example, incitement or harassment, it may stay up, especially if it's framed as entertainment or lacks a formal takedown request from the affected party, for example, Rick Harrison himself. The Rick Harrison case highlights this gap. Videos spreading false narratives about public figures often exploit YouTube's algorithmic promotion of sensational content, racking up views before moderation catches up. Similar cases like false AI-generated videos about televangelist Kenneth Copeland show a pattern of delayed or inconsistent enforcement by YouTube. Grok then has another heading. double standards or sinister policy. This is why I say this artificial intelligence is quite extraordinary. This came up within seconds of me putting that question up there. It is amazing the depth that AI goes to on any question you put to it. Next headline, evidence for double standards. This is on Grok. 1. Prioritization of public health over individual harm. YouTube's aggressive COVID-19 moderation was driven by external pressure from governments, health organizations, and public opinion, which framed misinformation as a life or death issue. Defamation, while harmful to individuals like Harrison, lacks the same societal urgency and organized advocacy. This creates an uneven application of rules where public health violations trigger swift action, but personal attacks linger unless legally challenged. 2. Algorithmic bias towards engagement. YouTube's algorithm often amplifies sensational or misleading content because it drives views and ad revenue. Get that? YouTube algorithm often amplifies, pushes it to the top. Sensational or misleading content because it drives views and ad revenues. It's called clickbait. Videos about Harrison's supposed imprisonment likely benefited from this, staying up longer due to their viral nature. Meanwhile, COVID-19 misinformation faced proactive scrutiny from YouTube's dedicated task forces. 3. Vague guidelines on defamation. YouTube's policies on misinformation are more clearly defined, e.g., contradicting the World Health Organization guidance, than those on defamation, which rely on subjective interpretation of harm. This vagueness allows defamatory content to slip through unless explicitly reported or litigated. 4. Selective enforcement criticism. Critics like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have sued YouTube, alleging First Amendment violations over removed vaccine content, while others note that YouTube rarely faces similar legal pushback for defamatory videos. This suggests a lower priority for addressing personal reputational harm compared to public health narratives. And then a new headline under this response from AI or Grok. And then another headline under this response from Grok, which is X's artificial intelligence, or Elon Musk's artificial intelligence software. I'll actually put a link to that down below as well, because you can go and check it out for yourself. Ask it anything. Okay, this is what it says under the headline, Evidence Against a Sinister Policy. 1. Operational constraints. YouTube processes billions of videos and moderating content at scale, which is a logistical nightmare. COVID-19 policies were streamlined with clear criteria and external partnerships, for example, the World Health Organization, making enforcement faster. Defamation cases, however, often require case-by-case review, legal input, or victim complaints, slowing down a response or action. 2. Legal limits. As a private platform, YouTube isn't bound by First Amendment protections, but it must navigate defamation laws, which vary globally. Removing content prematurely risks lawsuits from creators, so YouTube often waits for legal clarity or formal complaints. So what they're saying is unless Rick Harrison personally lodges a complaint against the person who put up this defamatory crap, YouTube are going to do nothing about it. That's quite extraordinary. Rick Harrison probably doesn't even know that this channel has got this video up about him. But anyway, let's continue. 3. Evolving policies. YouTube's relaxation of COVID-19 rules in 2023 shows responsiveness to changing contexts, not a fixed agenda. Its failure to swiftly remove Harrison videos may reflect bureaucratic inertia rather than a deliberate plot. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Rick Harrison is a friend of people in Trump's senior political bureaucracy. For example, the Secretary of State. And there are several images of him with the current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, for example. And when you consider how the lefty run ABC, which runs Google, which runs YouTube, you can understand why you're going to defame one of those guys who are in Trump's camp. Well, go for it. But if you try to defame someone like Kate Perry or Jeff Bezos, you know, these lefty goons, you would be taken down in a flash. Anyway, let's continue. The fourth point they make under evidence against a sinister policy is no clear ideological pattern. While some argue YouTube's moderation favors certain narratives, for example, establishment health policies, the Harrison case doesn't fit a clear political or ideological motive. Well, it does, because Harrison is very much in the Trump camp. It's more likely a case of clickbait exploiting lax oversight. Get that? So, if you go to the video down below, and it's in the description, it's rather like Ronaldo Jose's videos, which are all clickbait. What he's doing is exploiting a flaw in YouTube's so-called misinformation policy. And that flaw is, it's more likely a case of clickbait exploiting a lax oversight. And another headline, this is all the same article or response to my question. Grok says, critical perspective. The appearance of double standards is undeniable. Let me repeat that. The appearance of double standards is undeniable. YouTube acted decisively against COVID-19 misinformation, but has been sluggish on defamatory content like the Harrison videos. This inconsistency fuels distrust, especially when YouTube's algorithms amplify sensational lies for profit while claiming to prioritize quality information. Let me repeat that, because this kind of sums up, you know, the assholes who are trying to build what they call influence situations on YouTube. I'm not saying all, most of them are fine, but you've got a few, you know who they are, who are just assholes. And this is what it says. Okay, so the appearance of double standards is undeniable. YouTube acted decisively against COVID-19 misinformation, but has been sluggish on defamatory content like the Harrison videos. This inconsistency fuels distrust, especially when YouTube's algorithms amplify, push them to the top so they get more hits, sensational lies for profit while claiming to prioritize quality information. It's all bullshit. That's what Grok is saying. However, a sinister policy implies coordinated malice, which overstates the evidence. YouTube's actions seem driven more by pragmatic priorities, public health, legal liability, revenue, and operational limits, rather than a grand conspiracy. That said, the platform's reliance on external authorities, for example, the World Health Organization for COVID-19 moderation, raises legitimate concerns about outsourcing truth to fallible institutions, especially when early pandemic science was contested. Similarly, its slow response to defamation suggests a reactive rather than proactive stance on individual harm, prioritizing corporate interests over fairness. Both issues point to a broader problem. YouTube's opaque, inconsistent moderation system struggles to balance free expression, public safety, and individual rights. Now, I'm actually going to, at the end of this, I'm going to actually play you the Grok answer to my question, so you can see it on the screen. In conclusion, Grok says, YouTube's strict COVID-19 policies were based on public health imperatives and partnerships with health authorities, leading to rapid removal of content contradicting official guidance. In contrast, defamatory videos about Rick Harrison persist due to vague guidelines, legal complexities, and YouTube's algorithmic bias towards engagement. This disparity reflects double standards rooted in differing priorities and operational challenges, not necessarily a sinister policy, but obviously with a profit motive. However, the inconsistency undermines trust in YouTube's moderation, highlights the needs for clearer, fairer standards across all harmful content. If you want to dig deeper into YouTube's policies or specific cases, let me know and I can analyze further or check for updates. So there you have it. That's the beauty of artificial intelligence in looking deep into a simple question you ask. I suggest you try it out. Grok.com. Grok.com. Costs you nothing. Costs you absolutely nothing. Okay, I'm going to now play you, or put on the screen, Grok's answer, which I've just read out to you, but so you can actually see it firsthand. Please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com to be kept informed. Please share this video, and above all, do not get that deadly experimental bioweapon, which is still being marketed today.